Assalamualaikum, my name is Muhammad Zulfadli bin Hairul Azhar. So, our group will present about war on terrorism. Without wasting any time, I will start with the meaning of the terrorism itself. Terrorism is the act of violence committed by group that view themselves as victims by some noble historic wrong. So, although this group have formal connection with government, they usually have financial moral to support their jihad. So next, typically they stage unexpected attack on civilian target, including embassies and airliners, with the aim of them to showing fear and confusion. For example, is ISIS and Al-Qaeda. So according to the Criminal Code Act 1995 in Australia federal government, terrorism has been defined as the action is done or threat is made with the intention of advising a political, religious or ideological cause. So next we are going to war on terror. So the meaning of war on terrorism. War on terrorism is term used to describe the American-led global counter-terrorism campaign launched to respond to the attack from 1911. So from the attack of 1911 by Al-Qaeda, lead attack to promote President at that time George W. Bush to declare a global war on terror military campaign. So it's a military dimension involved major war in Afghanistan and Iraq. So as in the slide we show that the timeline of US lead to war on terror, Al-Qaeda attack, next American respond to the 9/11 attacks, what happened in Afghanistan and Iraq, lastly Saddam Hussein bin Laden have been killed. So next I will discuss about the main factor of outbreak. So the main factor of outbreak here, the 9/11 tragedy that lead to the war on terrorism. So the morning on September 11, 2001, 19 terrorists hijacked 4 East Coast flight, crashing 3 of the airplane into target in New York and Washington DC. From the attack, American people has introduced to the new foreign enemy that called Al-Qaeda, led by Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden have the belief of Salafi jihadism. Salafi jihadism is defined as religious, political ideology based on belief, physical jihad. Next, the anti-Western sentiment and political volatility create condition of the Al-Qaeda rooted in religious ideology. So the United, beside that, the reason of the 9/11 tragedy happened because of the United States sent troop ally to Saudi Arabia. That is the cause of presence of foreign Christian troop in Saudi Arabia, that is home of 2 holy sites of Mecca and Medina, enraged Osama bin Laden for the attack. So Osama bin Laden make that as a grief, as a motivation to him to do more to lead to the 9/11 attack. So Osama bin Laden want to fight United States directly with violence to withdraw American from Middle East. So United failed to prevent the attack because of the adjust policy and share intelligence have not enough for them to prevent the 9/11 tragedy attack. So next, I will talk about the party involved in this war on terrorism. As you know, the main party that involved in 9/11 attack is Al Qaeda. So first, I will talk about the meaning of Al Qaeda. It's a mean based on the foundation. The means of Qaeda is the base or the foundation, Islamist military organization found by Osama bin Laden. Before the 9/11 attack, during the 1978 Soviet-Afghan War in Afghanistan, Muslim insurgents known as the Muhajirin ready to fight a jihad. So Osama bin Laden have helped to finance and recruitment of Muhajirin for them to go to the Holy War. Next, in 1989, Muhajirin succeed pushing out remain of Russian out of Afghanistan. So next, Abdullah Azam, a Palestinian Sunni Islamic scholar, a mentor of Osama bin Laden, have grown a large financial network to create Al Qaeda. So Al Qaeda was formed to take on future holy war. So that's all for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm a second presenter and I will present to all of you about one of the parties involved in Islamic terrorist groups. Okay, the second group is that namely Islamic State in Iraq and Al-Sham, which we known as ISIS. Today I will share about the facts about ISIS. The first fact is that ISIS is an extremist Sunni Islam movement. When we talk about extremists, meaning to say that all of the conducts of the movement are totally wrong and they are killing a dozen of people, innocent people, just to achieve the aim of their movement. That is why they are being labeled as terrorists. Okay, the second fact is that ISIS wants to be known as Islamic States. Okay, ISIS has its own government. They have their own national system, they have their own portfolio, they have ministries, and they have their resident. The resident of ISIS is Syria and people in Syria and Iraq. So when we talk about a resident, so resident of the country are be bound by all the law in the country. One of the law in the country is including the use of burqa or black sheets for women, okay, and wearing a gorilla factors for the men, okay, restriction on telephone, of course, there's no television access and there's no telephone access, no western food, fast food, of course, water ration, food ration, and so on. They are be bound by this kind of system because the people that hated them is a terrorist. The fact is that IC has the power to recruit new members mostly through social media. By what? Okay, thousands of victims have been brainwashed by them, have been brainwashed by ISIS, fight and willing to come to Iraq and Syria to carry out a jihadist demands. Okay, usually the people that been targeted by ISIS is mu'alaf because mu'alaf is newcomers. You don't know what is the right part of the Islam, the right part of the religion, so you don't have a strong principle to hold on. So this is the person that been targeted by ISIS because they know this person don't know anything about Islam. Okay, then the person that been recruited by ISIS, they are willing or they are able to sacrifice their life becoming a suicide bombers. I mean, okay, they are like, ISIS always conducting the suicide bombers. They send the people there and they bombs. They don't only bomb the followers of ISIS, but the all people nearest them. Okay, so the fourth facts is that the massive spread of ISIS propaganda. Okay, as we know, ISIS has the capacity and capability to optimize the mass media to be used more efficiently. Because, for example, the video of assassination of journalist John Foley and the burning of a lift of a captured Jordanian pilot is important point of propaganda ISIS. Since the event, a series of act cruelty have been uploaded to the YouTube, okay, and other related mediums. When ISIS did that, okay, the brutality shown has a common and fundamental part of the fight against ISIS. It does not scare ISIS followers, but it does make them more eager to send a lot of messages to Islamic enemies. Okay, when they create this thing, these are actually bringing to Islamophobia. Okay, because the video has been spread to all over the world, even though ISIS is not real is not the right part of Islam. They are not Islam. Islam does not teach them to do so, to be cruel to other people, even they are being our enemies. So the way that they conduct the revenge is totally wrong as against Islam. So they are not Islam. But because of them, people in the Western country are recognized as Islam as terrorists from this thing. Okay, so this is totally wrong. Okay, not because of the ISIS, the name of Islam was totally gone ruined. Facts is that ISIS is rich and not beholden to foreign patrons. Okay, we have been clueless. Where did they get the money? Okay, it is derived from a number of sources. The first one is bank robberies, okay, primarily from the bank robberies, because in just 3 days ISIS has gained control over over half of Iraq and part of Syria. Money, gold, and other value things owned by the banks are being robbed by them, and it absolutely belongs to the ISIS. So the second one is that the second source is come from the oil wells in Mosul, Tikrit, and other places. As we know, Middle East countries are really rich with the petroleum sources. So where they've been sell that kind of petroleum, of course, in the black market. Okay, because ISIS is not recognized as a country, so it cannot have a free market area and so on. Okay, so they have a black market to sell all over the petroleum, and of course whoever sell the petroleum totally become a rich person. Okay, that is second sources. The third sources come from the sale of historic artifacts. In the Syria, in the Iraq, they are selling the artifacts that not belong to them, okay, into the black market. Of course, the black market, whatever they have, the valuable things, all is being sold at the black market. Okay, and the next source is jizya. Jizya is kind of taxes that be imposed to whoever people that be required by ISIS. So this is a lot of things that being collected by the ISIS. So it's absolutely rich movement. Okay, so it is not surprising that ISIS is considered to be one of the richest terrorist groups in the history of the world. And the last one is that ISIS are actually having a relationship with the Israel. I've been guessing, if ISIS is bringing the name of Islam, ISIS is bringing the La ilaha illallah, Allah and Muhammad, they are performing the Islam as they told. But at the same time, they are having a very good relationship with Israel. So what is the point of you fighting for the Islam as you are required? Okay, because according to the report of a Wall Street Journal, okay, it stated that Israel provided medical assistance to the injured ISIS fighter. Okay, and later they were sent back to Syria and border to fight again. And in fact, a report by the Guardian also clarified that Israel helping ISIS fighter in terms of the expertise in tactical warfare and military technology. Okay, this is absolutely made ISIS is one of the extremely powerful and has a considerable strength in a very short time. Okay, as next we move into the impacts of war on terrorism in social. Okay, the first impact is that effect on the individual in physical. Okay, of course, when there is a terrorist attack, people are died mostly because they are using bomb, they are using weapon, the mass weapon and so on. Of course, people will die, and they say and if they are not died, the physical consequences of terrorists, of course, like broken bones, soft tissue injuries, disability and so on, long-term chronic sensory disturbance, because victims are experiencing visceral symptom including cardiovascular, respiratory difficulties if they are throwing the bombs, or the gas or any other thing, when we talk about terrorists, they are using a lot of dangerous things to harm the people. As long as people die, they just use it. Okay, and the second one is effect on psychological. This is a very important one. When someone are being attacked by the terrorists, of course psychologically they are being disturbed. Okay, they are being harmful. Okay, survival of their life, but they will having a psychological effect. Okay, this is the things that we need to be concerned, because if we are not die, we are facing mental disability, because the terrorist is not something funny, and then the effect on psychological, we can see that someone who have been hijacked, or hostage of taking, okay, kidnapping, okay, they are being in anxiety, PTSD, PTSD, self blame, anger. Okay, obviously it's about her mental health. Okay, our mental health is not really good after we are being victim of the terrorists. Okay, the next effect, continue with my friends.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Amir Nabila binti Rosli. Today I would like to present about the impact of terrorism in international relations. The first impact is United Nations respond to combat terrorism by denying terrorists by carrying out an attack. Terrorists need a method to carry out the attack which they have the ability to generate, move finance money, acquire weapons, to recruit, to communicate, especially through the use of internet. Everything is all essential to terrorists. Okay, they also seek access to their target, which they tend to kill a lot of people. Meaning that United Nations has identified terrorist access and target where terrorists frequently target places such as educational institution, transportation, clubs, shopping malls, since these places have high level of population concentration. Secondly, by denying financial support, terrorists generate funds in many ways, which by funding their activities for drug trafficking, move money through formal channels such as the use of cash couriers, which are more difficult to monitor. By having approach to money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism could be more effective in dealing with drug finance terrorism. Moreover, following the flow of money can also help the prevent of attack, which cooperating internationally and addressing ways in which terrorism abuse informal ways of moving money. Lastly, by denying access to weapons, including weapons of mass destruction. Terrorist attacks have been used conventional weapons. They also have potential of using nuclear, biological, chemical or radiological weapons. The United Nations urged member states to promote necessary legislation, including the use of verified end-user certificates to ensure effective control over the export and transit of illegal small arms and light weapons. Furthermore, A nuclear, biological, chemical, or radiological terrorist attack will have a damaging, far-reaching impact. It will cause widespread death and destruction, which can cause millions of people to become poor.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Amira Syuhada binti Armansyah and I'm from AM 2284K. Today, I will be presenting about the third pillar of the United Nations in combating the terrorism, which is developing state capacity. The first main point here is the priority areas. The priority areas mentions to promote the rules and regulations to protect the human rights and also effective criminal justice system. The United Nations says that it is the fundamental rights in order to combat the terrorism with due respect of human rights. Thus, the United Nations has established the Security Council in resolutions 1373/2001, which has deciding that the state members should ensure that the persons who participates or in terms of financing, planning, preparations, perpetrations of the terrorism acts or to support the terrorist acts are needed to be brought to justice. This is because these are considered of criminal justice, and the states should comply the rules of regulations and the obligations to fight the terrorist acts with due respect of human rights. Other than that, the United Nations also encourages the IMF, World Bank organizations, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, and the International Criminal Police organizations to enhance the cooperation with states in order to help them to comply fully and to fully international norms to combat the terrorism. Furthermore, the United Nations also can contribute significantly to help the states to maintain an effective and law-based criminal justice system. For instance, United Nations has the department called United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime that has valuable experience and in providing legislative and other assisting to combat the terrorism. This unique role can help the states in terms of assistance and can contribute significantly to prevent the terrorism. The second point here is providing proper resources to counter terrorism. The United Nations has been mentioned that the demand by the member states has been increased dramatically in recent years. This is because it can be seen that the demand has not been matched with the resources that has been provided. The United Nations also mentioned that the United Nations counter-terrorism been established with fully funding through the voluntary funding. Thus, the United Nations encourages the member states and other entities to help them in making voluntary contributions in order to enhance them in capabilities to combat the terrorism. The United Nations also consider to encourage the private sector in contributions to capacity building programs. For example, it encouraged the International Maritime Organizations, the World Customs Organization, International Civil Aviations to strengthen their cooperations with states to identify any movement of the terrorism. This is to ensure that this funding or technical assistance can help fully the United Nations counter-terrorism to combat the terrorism. Last but not least, the main point here is promoting United Nations system-wide coherence in countering terrorism. There are many organizations, entities, groups in the United Nations that involve to build the capacity in to prevent the terrorism. Many of them are independent body and have specialized agents that help to build the capacity, build to develop the build to develop capacity building. These organizations are separated, emphasizes their activities by the United Nations system in order to tackle complex threat of terrorism. At the same time, it is to ensure there are no duplication of work and also the scarce resources are not wasted. Other than that, the Counter-Terrorism Committee has established the Security Council in Resolution 1373/2001, which is the core element here to enhance the coherence and efficiency of technical assistance delivery. Last but not least, it is the crucial thing here to have the better sharing information in that enhance to the fullest degree possible. So, United Nations has created the informal group and to include the United Nations technical assistance providers by meeting one or twice per week, one or twice per year in order to exchange the information. Last but not least, they also need to include better sharing information that are available on all of the state members and also other organizations that has been involved, such as the effective way, which is online handbook. Thus, this contribution or this way can help the organizations and the state members to cooperate with each other to have better efficiency in sharing information to combat the terrorism. That's all for me. Thank you.
My name is Farah Mirafuna Samantha Azizan and I will present about the lesson learned. Okay, there are 4 lessons learned, but I will explain 2, which is the law enforcement and the intelligence agency must work together to combat the terrorism, and another one is the negotiation, where the negotiation is important to end the conflicts. So the first one is the law enforcement. The law enforcement is an activity an activity of making certain that the law of an area are being obeyed by the people. So, which means the law enforcement is a system that enforces the law to governing a society with the cooperation by the intelligence agency. So, the intelligence agency is a government agency, is under the government agency, which are responsible to controlling to collect the analysis and exploit of the information of the support that are supported by the law enforcement and the national security, military, and the foreign policy objective. So Malaysia are being serious and consistent um, in terms to persuade to strengthen the domestic legal framework and policy, which is to keep up with the emerging risks and trends in the terrorism financing. So as we can see, as for example that I can give, there are many threats that are made by the ISIS, which is they give the negative perceptions about the Islam such as the Al-Qaeda threats. So, as we know, Malaysia on that time is one of the country in the Southeast Asia where were targeted by the ISIS. And so to counter the evolved threat in the terrorism, Malaysia has put in place the counter-terrorism legislation. They are included security offence, which is the special measure uh, Act 2012, which is known as SOSMA. And another one is the Prevention Crime Amendment and Extensions Act 2013, known as POCA. As a result, many has been arrested and prosecuted and successfully prosecuted. So that is why the law enforcement is very important, because the by having a law is like a guideline for us. So when we have a law, we know where we want, what we want to do, what is you're supposed to do and you are not supposed to do. So the one who are not following the law will be punished, and without the law the country will be chaos. And the next one is the negotiation, which negotiation is a very important to end a conflict. Negotiation, what is the meaning of negotiation? Negotiation is a method where people settle the differences. So it is a process by which compromise or agreement is reached while avoiding the argument and dispute. So each of the individual that are doing the negotiations must recognize what the other person need is. Then they must be willing to discuss a range of solutions they that may satisfy those needs. So if this condition is not met, there is no negotiation can be made. Okay, you must be cooperative, competitive, and analytical, where you want to be fair decision for everyone without a conflict or an agreement. So as for example, our Malaysian Prime Minister, our previous Prime Minister, which is Tun Dr. Mahathir, addressing the 21st International Conference on the Future of Asia, which known as the Nikki Conference, he said that the conflict must be resolved, although through the negotiation, arbitration, and the court of the law. So he said that on the conference, when we gained the independence, there were serious confrontations, claims, and counterclaims. So thus Asia is now very stable and peaceful because of the ASEAN decide to come together regularly and meet every year to settle every problems at the table and not by the battleships. The world need to decide that all the conflict must be settled at the table, and the countries must be prepared on giving up something to reach an agreement, which is more easier, because when you have the argument, like you have a war, you cannot be settle any one of your problem. So by having a negotiations, it is a good lesson learned, is a good solution where it can end a conflict. So or it can reduce a conflict or the dispute. So that's all.
Assalamualaikum and good morning, sir. My name is Muhammad Saiful Ashraf bin Abdul Halim. I will talk about the lesson learned on war on terrorism. War on terrorism. Okay, as we know that the Islamophobia is spreaded around the West people about the evil of Muslim, evil of Islam. They said that the Islam is teach their people how to shoot, how to kill the non-Muslim people and discriminate the non-Muslim people. This is totally wrongly full, totally wrong with their understanding. Okay, the Islamophobia is all about the tragedy 9/11 on 2001. Okay, why this is happened? Because of a group of people that is militant of Al-Qaeda. They hijacked the 4 aeroplane, which is 2 of the aeroplane was crashed at the World Trade Center in USA, and another one is crashed near the Pentagon and killed 30 military staff and personnel. And another one was at the Shanksville, because the Al-Qaeda, they get the information said that the president was go to the Maryland, that is the place, the nuclear plant place, they near the western about eastern boarding. Okay, why the Al-Qaeda is the one part that they want to take full responsible about the 9/11 tragedy, because they does not satisfy, they want to take revenge to the USA, because of what? Because the USA itself helped the Israel in Persian Gulf War. It make the Osama bin Laden is their leader. He said that he take a full responsible about this attack, and impact of the attack is 30,000 people was killed in this tragedy because of the crash of the airplane itself, and the people inside the World Trade Center, and under the roadside, they killed by the bomb, and they killed by the stone that crash the aeroplane and make them kill. Okay, the big impact that the big impact when 9/11 was have the big impact to the USA itself about the tragedy 9/11 is, first, 143,000 job was lost a month, and under the second, there is 30,000 people was killed in this tragedy. World Trade Center, and third, World Trade Center was recover 60 billion to make sure that rebuild again to save for the people. And the fourth is the air transportation, the air transportation decreased 60% because of the people in this world does not trust with the aeroplane, with the air transportation that the USA give it to us, because of the 4 aeroplane was hijacked by the militant, Al-Qaeda militant. Okay, another thing that we know about the Islamophobia is the Christchurch tragedy in March 2019. Okay, why this is Islamophobia? Because there is New Zealand people, and his name is Brenton Tarrant was the people who responsible with this tragedy shot the Muslim people, because he said that the Muslim people must die, because maybe he has a Islamophobia, because they scare with the white people, with the Muslim people, so he want to overcome the scare, so he kill the Muslim people in the mosque, who they pray the Solat Jumaat at that 2 mosques. We know the An-Nur Mosque and the Linwood Islamic Center. There is 15 was killed, 41 is at An-Nur Mosque, and 7 is at Linwood Islamic Center. Okay, why this is very tragedy? Because the killer was do the live video. He shoot the Muslim people in the mosque. So every people around the world was pray and respect to this tragedy. All media was reported about this tragedy, about this sadness tragedy in New Zealand, black tragedy that can totally change the world. said that the Muslim is not the terrorist, but the people inside the Muslim, inside the Islam, is give the image, the bad image to the people surrounding, say that the Islam is terrorist. Thank you. Next point is the state should not interfere with the security issues of the other side. Okay, as we know, every state have their own sovereignty. Every state must respect their own sovereignty, and every state must respect around their country, and cannot interfere to the people, to the country, to the security inside of the country itself. Okay, for example, as we know, the respect the other securities country, the others country, and let them to handle their issue is first Rohingya ethnic Rohingya at Myanmar. Okay, as we know, Myanmar is the as we know that Myanmar is the government has give by the United Nations, said that the Aung San Suu Kyi, their president, give the Aung San Suu Kyi, the Myanmar president, the Nobel of Peace. But this is totally changed after the ethnic Rohingya has been discriminated, has been killed, has been raped, has been tortured by their own military force and by his Buddha's religion at the Myanmar itself. Okay, as we know, why the ethnic Rohingya has been discriminated? Because of the Buddha itself deny the citizenship of Rohingya at the Myanmar itself. So they want to revenge, they Buddha revenge, and make sure they burn all the Rohingya village at some place, and to make sure they kill the Rohingya ethnic, and some woman was raped by the military force itself, and with some others will be tortured by military force. So the Aung San Suu Kyi Nobel Peaceful was been get back, or was been ditarik balik in Malay, ditarik balik by the United Nations because of her under her government. So this issue was make the people know how she govern, how bad she govern the country itself. Okay, this is about humanity. So why Malaysia cannot interfere and cannot membela nasib the ethnic Rohingya itself? Why? Because we does not have power. We cannot to interfere. Does not have power. We cannot interfere, and we must follow the rule itself. So we must respect, and so the others authorities must take action of the Myanmar country itself. But Malaysia has boycott the match between the Myanmar and Malaysia. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but I think on football game, maybe in AFF Suzuki Cup, or the match of AFF Suzuki. I don't know. I also forget about that thing. Okay. The others is that we can see why Malaysia cannot interfere, because we has not have power. So let the bigger authority, let the UN settle the problem with Myanmar itself. Okay, we cannot interfere because that is their country and that is not a Malaysian. So if the Myanmar is Malaysia, maybe we can we can interfere with that security problem. So with that problem itself, so we cannot interfere that thing. Let them settle themselves. Okay, next is how, as we know, the Malaysian must focus with their own security issues, must improve the security issue in Malaysia itself, because we must check our country first, because the most important thing is our country. It's not the others country. Okay, first, how Malaysian overcome the ISIS issues. Okay, as we know, the timeline of the ISIS is they came from East Syria and half has come from Iraq, and the group of militant, and they be the ISIS because they want to they use the name of Islam. They use the name of Islam and build a group of people, a group of militant, and they want to do the suicide bomb, to take a revenge to the non-Muslim people. So they use the name of Islam, but the real Islam is not teaching the evil thing and not teaching to how to kill people. That is very important. I want to highlight. Okay, the timeline of ISIS in Malaysia is first, Malaysian police arrested 140 suspects that have involved the ISIS. Okay, the Malaysian police also have arrested 15 suspects and successfully failed the launching bomb attack at Malaysia itself. As we know, the ISIS was very dangerous in Indonesia because they have do 10 or 9 suicide bomb in the middle of Jakarta town. So that is very dangerous. So from that thing, Malaysia must overcome this problem earlier when they become worse, like Jakarta, when the militant itself has braved them and they want to go to suicide bombing, and they want to do a lot of mission to make sure that the country will be governed by their own self, and make the government scared about them, because the ISIS is very worldwide, at USA, United States of America, at Asia itself, at West country itself. So this thing is become global. When it is come global, it's very dangerous thing. But it's not cause a pandemic like COVID-19, but it's very, very dangerous thing, because there is a group of crazy people that brave to die, and to kill people. They die to kill people, like suicide bombing. They plant their bomb in their body and they kill the people. Okay, how ISIS recruit the new people? First is from Usra. Second is from media social. Okay, the first, Usra, as we know, every mosque, every public university, every place, or every thing that have the religion, the Islam, the Muslim thing, must have Usra. Usra like advise each other, talk about the hadith, Al-Quran, the meaning of hadith, the meaning of Quran, talk about themselves, how to advise people. But this is a good thing. But when it's a bad thing, is the ISIS do use this line to make sure that they recruit the new team, the new people, the new members. That is very dangerous thing. And that is how the government so hard to find what is the ISIS Usra and what is the real Usra. Okay, but Alhamdulillah, the kerajaan, the government successful use this report, or use the others thing report, the cooperate from the others said, and they fail, and the ISIS failed to recruit the new members. Okay, the others is social media. We have many social media, WhatsApp, WeChat, Telegram, and others thing, Facebook. They use all this media social, and they spread their own propaganda. They give a propaganda to them, so the people will trust the propaganda and they will join the ISIS militant. Okay, ISIS militant, there two case was famous. First is woman that married the ISIS members through Skype, and she was arrested because she want to go to Syria and help her husband at war, because she sympathy with her husband. Okay, the next is, yes, this is very popular also. 22 years old student of public University of Perlis was caught at KLIA because he want to join ISIS. Why he want to join the ISIS? Because he show sympathy to the ISIS, because he trust the propaganda that spread the sympathy, spread the propaganda, and make this person trust the ISIS, said that the ISIS is the right path to jihad fi sabilillah. Okay, how the government overcome this thing? First thing, monitor and educate local education institute such as school. They go to school. Government collabs with Ministry of Education. They educate the teacher. They educate the student itself not to trust the propaganda and protect the Malaysian from the ISIS. Said that mahasiswa Islam tolak keganasan. This campaign is very good because it take a lot of society, to make sure that the society, the public was know that the ISIS is not the jihad fi sabilillah, but more to revenge, more to kill people. Okay, the next is shattering the website. As we know, the MCMC was collapsed collaborate with the Malaysian government to close all the website, all the social media that pro to ISIS. Okay, the MCMC also go to camping with the people at the mosque, at the school, during the school holiday. Because of what? Because they scare, the government scare when the people join ISIS, because they want to jihad fi sabilillah and mati syahid. That is wrong. Because Islam teach us how to about the peaceful harmony of the religion, and not harm the people, but protect the people. But why we must kill people for our revenge? Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Conclusion. The question is that, is there any certain way to settle war on terrorism? The answer is not. Okay, this is because there are different opinions toward this kind of terrorists, because terrorists is not only focusing on Islam. We know war on terrorism is starting from the tragedy of 9/11, which the terrorist attacks Al-Qaeda. It's referring to the Islam. So right now we are not only have the Islamic terrorists, we have white shooter, we have black shooter, and so on. So it is not only focusing on Islam. So the different ideology and opinions bringing, if we want to decide something in the international level, it cannot be settled. For example, okay, Islam people recognize Hamas, okay, as a fighters for Palestinian, but Western see Hamas as a terrorist because they are in the side of Israel. We see Israel as a terrorist because they are attacking the Muslim, okay, Muslim places. I mean, the Palestinian country, they're attacking them because that is belongs to the Palestine. The places belong to the places. And in addition, what I have been researched in the ISIS is that where did they sold all those petroleum that they get in the black market? If you really want to fight for the terrorists, you should not support the black market that been sold by the terrorists. So right now, I think there is no way to settle down because everyone have their different believing in terms of terrorists. Okay, so as a conclusion, okay, every country need to fight for terrorists because this is literally give a very bad impact towards certain countries, as we see the countries that been attacked, Italy, Paris, in Jakarta, and so on. The consequences of that, you make people really afraid. I mean, the life of a citizen are being endangered. So the terrorists need to be curbed, and need to be put in a solution. If we want really to fight for the war on terrorism, we need to be seriously conducting it in the international level. So this is all from us. Thank you.